I know that I just recently talked about a scary ghost story, but Halloween is coming up really soon and I'm just in the mood for creepy books. So I'm going to share another ghost story with you. This one is Doll Bones by Holly Black. It's another one of my absolute favorites and it's one that's been pretty popular in the last couple of years. We actually used it not too long ago for one of the books we use when we have our Battle of the Books competition, and it was one of the books that students really loved when we did that. So I'm going to show a little clip that I found on YouTube that kind of helps set the mood for this book trailer that someone else made. And then I'm going to read to you a couple of pages of this book so you can get a feel for it and decide if it's something you're interested in reading. That clip was created by Melissa McAvoy. Want to give her credit for her work. Now I'm going to read you just a couple of pages in this book, and I'm going to start on page 61. A lot has already happened, but I'm just going to jump right into the action where Poppy and Alice and Zach have all snuck out of their homes in the middle of the night. Poppy and Alice are furious with Zach. He won't tell them the real reason why he stopped hanging out with them, but they need his help, so they've come to him in the middle of the night, dragged him out of his bed, and now they're meeting in this old shed. So that is where this next chapter is taking place. Poppy carefully took the bone china doll from her backpack. Zach drew in his breath and went silent. The queen's dull black eyes were open, her gaze boring into his own. He'd always thought she was creepy, but in the reflected beam of the flashlight, she seemed demonic. Poppy touched the doll's face. It was pure white like a dinner plate. Hair, dry as brush bristles, was threaded into her scalp, and her cheeks and lips were rouged a faint pink. When she was tilted onto her back, her eyes stayed open instead of closing the way they should have, as though she was still watching Zach. There was a tear on the shoulder of her thin brittle gown and tiny pinholes through the discolored fabric. It hadn't aged as well as the rest of the doll, and the ride in Poppy's backpack probably hadn't helped. The queen, Zach said unsteadily, forcing a sneer into his voice to cover his rising fear. So what? You brought me all the way out here just for a doll? Just listen, Alice said. Try not to be the huge jerk you've turned into. Alice never said stuff like that, especially not to him. It stung. I know you told us you weren't going to come over the other day, but I thought you might anyway, Poppy said, talking fast. And I couldn't just go in the cabinet and get the queen if Mom was there. So I took the doll out of the case at night when we had the argument and moved around some of Mom's other stuff to hide what I'd done. But that night, well, I saw the dead girl. You mean you had a nightmare, Zach said. Just shut up a minute, said Alice. It wasn't like a regular dream, Poppy said, her fingers smoothing back the queen's curls and her voice changing, going soft and chill as the night air. It reminded Zach of the way Poppy talked when she was playing villains or even the queen herself. It wasn't like dreaming at all. She was sitting on the end of my bed. Her hair was blonde like the doll's, but it was tangled and dirty. She was wearing a nightdress smeared with mud. She told me I had to bury her. She said she couldn't rest until her bones were in her own grave, and if I didn't help her, she'd make me sorry. Poppy paused as though she was expecting him to say something sarcastic. Alice shifted uncomfortably. Zack was silent for a moment, arrested by the images Poppy had conjured. He could almost see the girl in her stained nightgown. Her bones, he finally echoed. Did you know that bone china has real bone in it? Poppy said, tapping a porcelain cheek. Her clay was made from human bones, little girl bones. That hair threaded through the scalp is the little girl's hair, and the body of the doll is filled with her leftover ashes. A shiver ran up his spine. He closed his eyes to keep from looking at the doll in Poppy's lap. Okay, this is your idea of a funny prank. I get it. You're mad at me for not playing the game anymore, so you made up this story to scare me. What's the punchline? Did one of you rig a sheet outside to flutter from a tree or something? I told you, Alice said to Poppy under her breath. You really did rig a sheet? Zack said, frowning, looking at the trees and mounds of canned metal. No, idiot, said Alice. I told her that you wouldn't believe us and that you wouldn't want to help. I am hoping you will come down to the library and check this book out, and I hope you will enjoy it as much as I did. See you soon in the library.